Guernica. Pablo Picasso's expansive 1937 oil painting is widely regarded as one of the most influential pieces of anti-war art ever created. It's in response to the political conditions within Spain, which was a country several months into a civil war at the time. Dictator Francisco Franco's allies, in a show of force that would later be a marker of the Second World War, bombed the town of Guernica on April 26, 1937. The bombing lasted hours, and the civilian death toll, though unconfirmed to this day, was severe. In striking black and white, like a visceral newspaper headline, Guernica shows a frantic environment, a chaotic and heartbreaking scene. Picasso chooses not to focus on the culprits of the bombing. There's no direct reference to aircraft, military personnel, or artillery. Instead, it only shows the victims. It's the citizens who appear to press at the edges of the canvas, bursting out as we, the audience, are engulfed by the sheer scale of the canvas. When I see Guernica, I see anguish. I see a sea of black and white faces all screaming with pain. And it's a moment in time, sure, but it's also a warning that all of this pain and sadness, that all of this can happen again. Few paintings have moved me like Guernica. To be honest, whenever I see it, I get really, really angry because it's so visceral to see the kind of pain that is in this frame. And honestly, I think any great art finds echoes of itself in other works throughout history. I see Guernica in Disney's Andor. In just 2 seasons of television, Andor is a series that dares to speak to the consequences of institutional oppression.
Where is he? Where is my father? Give up! Silence!
It depicts the Empire as a relentless force of bureaucratic and militaristic oppression. It's a machine. Both Guernica and Andor offer examples of the consequences of that machinery. We see it in the faces of Picasso's canvas, just like we see it in the faces of folks in Andor. Innocent bystanders reacting to their quiet corner of the galaxy being overrun by stormtroopers. Where the painting is a cautionary tale, Andor is a call to action. As stated in the Fellow Rebels Manifesto, the Empire is vulnerable.
The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority, and then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege.
By doing away with characters of the franchise's previous films, Andor is uninhibited by legacy, freely able to explore what true resistance to that machinery might look like.
You think the Empire stops to catch its breath? This is a fight to the death, Vel.
And true resistance is a tapestry of rich, complex voices, each with their own motivations, but still drawn together in a common cause.
That's what a reckoning sounds like.
That unity is real power. If you strip Andor of its Star Wars references, I still think it stands as one of the best television shows of at least the last decade. But I'd argue that it actually is better because it's a Star Wars property. It operates within those constraints, and yet it excels. And because Star Wars is such an indelible part of our culture, Andor now has an opportunity to say something with a built-in platform and a built-in audience. Similarly, Picasso was also able to express his work from within an established platform. He was commissioned to create a mural that would adorn the Spanish pavilion of the International Exhibition in Paris in 1937, which afforded the prolific painter an audience interested in what his work might say. Picasso, to this point, wasn't a particularly political artist, but having learned of the atrocities of Guernica, he saw this commission as a duty to speak up, stating, "Artists who live and work with spiritual values cannot and should not remain indifferent to a conflict to which the highest values of humanity and civilization are at stake." He saw what was going on around him, and he created art that met the moment. Star Wars, for better or worse, now exists largely to feed our appetite for nostalgia, but Andor strips away those ingredients. There are no Jedi, there's no Skywalkers. Instead, Tony Gilroy and company choose to highlight the folks on the margins, the people whose legacies aren't yet shaped by our collective memories. And just like the anonymous faces of Guernica ask us to reckon with humanity's darkest impulses, folks within Andor are forced to meet that malignance head-on.
I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
These characters struggle with the kinds of decisions that are required of them during what they consider to be unprecedented times. Sound familiar? Guernica shows us the faces of those who suffer through tyranny when it goes unchecked. And Andor shows us that we have the power to do something about it.
We've been sleeping. We've had each other and Ferrix, our work, our days, but we were sleeping. I've been sleeping. I've been turning away from a truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. And it's not visiting anymore. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep. Perhaps it's too late, but I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. Fight the Empire!
Some will act. In strong numbers, they will take to the streets, offering a dissenting voice to the powers that rely on our silence. Some will live defiantly. Living freely and without fear is a reminder that individuality is a threat to fascism's narrow impression of the world. Some will create. Art and prose are the raw expressions of humanity that oppression aims to destroy.
Remember this, freedom is a pure idea.
Some will leave. For themselves, for loved ones, there might come a time, and that time is different for everyone, when staying is more dangerous than leaving. Their journey towards safety is an act of defiance all its own. I count myself in this category. My family and I made the difficult decision to move out of the country. And maybe these videos are my way of continuing to protest. I don't know, but we all have to try. Good art invites a conversation, but the best art that meets the moment it's in, like Guernica did in 1937 and Andor does today, asks questions of its audience. When the world turns to darkness, what will you do?